chosen one. Pause for a moment. Heaven itself has turned its gaze toward you. You are not scrolling by chance. The Spirit has drawn you here because the season of testing has reached its divine conclusion. You have been observed in silence, weighed in the balance of obedience, and found faithful. Every tear that soaked your pillow, every prayer that felt unanswered, every closed door that seemed final, none of it was wasted. Heaven has recorded your endurance. God now whispers through the unseen realm, you have passed the test. You endured the wilderness, where nothing made sense. Yet you refused to curse the process. You held on to faith when others mocked your belief. You kept walking when you could no longer see the path ahead. And while you thought heaven was silent, the angels were writing your story. The same God who allowed the fire was watching how you stood inside it, not broken, but refined. Your obedience was the exam. Your loyalty was the answer sheet. Every moment you wanted to give up but didn't became a line of testimony in the archives of eternity. And now, the voice that once seemed distant is breaking through the clouds, saying, "Well done. You survived the pruning because fruit was coming. You endured the night because dawn was on the way." Heaven has issued the decree. Your divine rise begins now. Listen closely. Chosen one, you are stepping out of obscurity and into divine exposure. The things that once worked against you will now work for you. The very soil that buried you will become the platform that elevates you. God hid you not to punish you, but to protect the purity of your calling. He covered you in silence, so no voice could corrupt the seed He was nurturing in your spirit. You were never forgotten. You were reserved. This is the moment when invisible warfare turns into visible victory. The heaviness that pressed against your chest begins to lift. The uncertainty that clouded your decisions clears like morning mist. The Lord says, "You are stepping into a season where my favor will speak louder than your past." You no longer need to explain yourself to people who misunderstood your pain. Heaven has already validated your process. Your test was not about proving something to God. It was about revealing something within you. You learned that faith is not a feeling, it is an anchor. You learned that delay does not mean denial. You learned that when everyone walks away, God stands closer. These lessons have formed the spiritual muscles you will now need for the mantle being placed upon your shoulders. You are not the same person who entered the storm. You have emerged, forged, stronger, radiant with purpose, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. It is written in the book of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 23. Well done, good and faithful servant. This is heaven's announcement over you now. God saw what no one else saw. He witnessed you worship through heartbreak. He counted every time you chose forgiveness instead of vengeance. He remembers the moments you served with no applause. These unseen acts were the true exam, and you passed not by perfection, but by perseverance. Now, the heavens celebrate. The angels rejoice, not because your battle was easy, but because your faith endured. Your name is being mentioned in divine chambers. The wind of favor begins to shift toward you. Doors that once creaked shut will swing open effortlessly. Opportunities will find you because grace is now magnetized to your obedience. Beloved, this is your awakening moment. Do not shrink back in false humility. Stand tall in holy confidence. The Lord is not calling you to hide anymore. He is calling you to rise. You are not who you used to be. The version of you that doubted, feared, and second-guessed is gone. A new sound of authority vibrates in your spirit. You have survived what was meant to destroy you. Now you will lead others out of their own trials with the same fire that once tested you. Heaven is saying, step forward. Chosen one. The time of proving has passed. The time of revealing begins. Let go of the guilt of your past failures. They were classrooms of grace. Let go of the hesitation that whispers you are not ready. God never promotes the perfect, only the prepared. You are prepared. You are ready. You are rising. Before you scroll away, do one prophetic act of agreement. Tap that heart. Share this word so that it reaches another warrior in the shadows. And if you feel this message burn in your spirit, comment below 777, the number of completion and divine alignment. Then, subscribe to stay connected to the voice that reminds you of who you truly are. Heaven is watching. Beloved, your test is over. Your divine rise begins now. Chosen one. The silence you carried was not empty. It was holy ground. Every night you lay awake, staring into the ceiling of uncertainty, wondering if God still remembered you. He did. Heaven never lost sight of you. You were walking through a sacred curriculum of endurance. A private classroom where tears became your language and faith became your breath. The world saw nothing, but heaven saw everything. You were being tested not in front of crowds, but in the secret chambers of the heart. And though no one clapped for your courage, the angels stood at attention, recording your perseverance. The weight you carried in silence was proof of your calling. Only those marked by heaven carry such invisible burdens. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You encouraged others while you bled quietly. You gave when you had nothing left to give. You stood firm even when your knees trembled. Those around you misread your silence as weakness, but it was the posture of a soul surrendering to divine timing. You were not ignored, you were incubated. The Lord was sculpting patience into your spirit. Every delay was chiseling away the need for human approval. Every unanswered prayer was teaching you to hear God beyond outcomes. Every lonely season was preparing you for a stage too heavy for untested hearts. While others sought recognition, you were learning resilience. While others complained about waiting, you were being refined by it. You were being stretched not to break, but to expand your capacity for blessing. There were nights when exhaustion spoke louder than faith. Nights when you whispered, God, I can't do this anymore. Yet, somehow, strength found you, not because you were strong, but because His hand never left yours. There is something sacred about surviving what should have destroyed you. It means heaven had more plans than hell had attacks. It means the story wasn't finished. The author was still writing. You may not realize it yet, but every hidden season was divine evidence that you are trustworthy with revelation. God does not give heavy mantles to shallow hearts. He hides His most powerful vessels in silence until they are ready to carry weight without seeking applause. And you, beloved, have proven that you can handle what others drop. You did not let bitterness poison you. You did not let loneliness make you abandon your mission. Even when you felt forgotten, you still whispered, "Your will be done." That whisper moved mountains in the spirit. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That is why you were never truly alone. When you thought you were walking through darkness by yourself, heaven was pacing beside you. When the tears fell, God was collecting each one like precious oil. When you whispered prayers too weak to form words, the Spirit translated them into victory decrees. Your pain became the incense of intimacy, rising before the throne as proof of faith. You have carried the unseen load of many generations. The warfare you faced was not only about you, it was about what you were breaking off your bloodline. Every time you chose forgiveness instead of anger, curses began to crumble. Every time you prayed instead of quitting, strongholds lost their grip. You became the interruption to generational patterns. Heaven smiled because through your quiet endurance, entire destinies were rewritten. Understand this. Chosen one, the silence was not punishment, it was preservation. God shielded you from environments that could not handle your calling. He hid you from conversations that would have talked you out of purpose. He even withheld certain blessings until your character could sustain them. His not yet was never a rejection, it was a rescue. You were being matured in private so that when promotion came, you would not mistake the spotlight for the source. Now, look back for a moment, not with regret, but with revelation. Can you see how even the most painful chapters were divine construction? The rejection pushed you into isolation, but isolation pushed you into prayer. The heartbreak cracked your heart open, but through that crack, light entered. What once felt like loss has now become the foundation of wisdom. Your scars are not signs of defeat, they are signatures of survival. And though the silence was long, it was never wasted. The God who began a good work in you was shaping endurance, birthing humility, and weaving purpose through your pain. You carried the weight quietly, and heaven applauded loudly. Every sigh, every tear, every step forward, despite fear, has been counted as worship. Your unseen obedience has been louder in heaven than the praise of multitudes. The world may not understand why you still believe, why you still hope, why you still serve, but heaven understands. Because you believed without evidence, you have qualified for a glory that cannot be measured. The same silence that once felt like absence will soon echo with divine confirmation. It was all preparation. Chosen one. Rest in that truth. What you carried in secret is about to become the reason others find strength in public. You did not fail. You endured. And in the kingdom of God, endurance is the highest proof of faith. Chosen one. Do you remember the heat of the fire, the moments when life felt like it was closing in on every side, when everything stable began to crumble and you whispered, "Why me?" Lord, that fire was not meant to consume you. It was designed to refine you. Every flame you walked through was carefully measured by the hand of a God who never burns what he intends to bless. You were not being destroyed, you were being purified. The refining fire is heaven's classroom. It strips away the illusions, the dependencies, the false identities, until only truth remains. It hurts because it removes what you thought you needed. It isolates because it reveals who you can truly trust. The fire doesn't come to kill your purpose, it comes to kill your pride, your fear, your doubt. And through that holy furnace, something unshakable begins to emerge, your authentic, unbreakable self. In those moments, you questioned why everything you built had to fall apart. But chosen one, you must understand God never leaves you empty. He tears down only what cannot hold his glory. He dismantles what would later betray your destiny. The loss was not punishment, it was preparation. You thought you were losing everything, but you were actually being aligned with everything meant for you. As was spoken in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3, he will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. Notice that word sit. It means God never left the fire. He was seated beside you, watching carefully, ensuring that the flames never went beyond what you could bear. Like a master silversmith, he knew exactly when to turn the heat and when to remove you. The moment he saw his reflection in you, the refining was complete. You see, gold is not afraid of fire, it needs it. Without fire, gold remains mixed with impurities, dull and heavy. The same is true for you. Every heartbreak removed an impurity. Every betrayal burned away your dependency on people. Every failure melted your self-reliance so that faith could flow freely again. You have not come out of this weaker, you have come out purified, lighter, radiant with divine resilience. The refining fire reveals who you are when everything else is gone. It shows what kind of faith lives beneath the surface. When there's no applause, no recognition, no reassurance, will you still believe? That's the question the fire asks. And you, chosen one, answered with perseverance. You stood inside the flames and said, "Even if I lose everything, I will not lose faith." That is the kind of declaration that moves heaven. Remember, even the disciples were refined. Peter's pride had to burn before his leadership could rise. Paul's ambition had to die before his mission could live. Joseph's dream had to go through betrayal before it reached fulfillment. So don't despise your refining. It is evidence that God sees something precious inside you worth purifying. Sometimes, the fire isolates you from those who cannot handle your transformation. When gold is melted, it separates from everything lesser. Likewise, God separated you not because you were unworthy, but because you were becoming pure. He needed to remove distractions that diluted your focus. That loneliness was never rejection, it was concentration. Heaven was concentrating your anointing, condensing your power, refining your message. And the truth is, not everyone can recognize refined gold. Some people only value you when you sparkle for them, but not when you're melting in the fire. Yet, the melting was the miracle. For it is only in that surrender that your heart became soft enough for God to mold. The real transformation didn't happen when you triumphed. It happened when you broke and still trusted. Now, something is shifting. You are emerging from the flames with a new sound in your spirit. The same heat that once made you cry now makes you glow. You no longer fear loss because you understand that what is truly yours cannot be burned away. You no longer chase validation because you've seen the approval of heaven. The fire stripped you, yes, but it also crowned you with discernment, humility, and strength. The enemy thought the fire would silence you. Instead, it purified your voice. Your words now carry weight because they come from experience. You can speak life to others still in their fire. Because you've been there, you've felt the heat, you've endured the silence, and you've seen the glory that follows. You are living proof that the flames don't destroy chosen ones, they define them. So stand tall, radiant soul. The ashes on you are not signs of defeat, they are marks of transformation. You are not the same as before. You have been refined by purpose, polished by pain, and marked by the fire of heaven. From this moment forward, let no one convince you that your suffering was wasted. Every flame carried wisdom. Every tear carried oil. You now walk as one who has seen the face of the refiner and lived to tell the story. Now, chosen one, as a declaration of faith, type below, "Still I rise." Because when you declare those 3 words, you're not just commenting, you're testifying. You're telling heaven, "I've been through the fire, but I'm still standing." You're telling hell, "You should have finished me when you had the chance." And you're telling your own soul, "No matter what I face next, I will rise again." Let your comment be the echo of your victory. The fire tried, but it failed. You are still here. You are gold, chosen one. There was a moment when everything in you wanted to give up. The nights grew too long, the prayers too heavy, the silence too deep. You stood at the edge of surrender, unsure whether God still heard you. You whispered your last ounce of faith into the darkness and waited, trembling, for an answer that didn't come right away. And yet, even in that silence, something sacred was happening. Mercy was waiting, watching for the moment your strength would fail, so his strength could begin. The moment mercy stepped in wasn't loud. It didn't arrive with thunder or lightning. It came softly, like a whisper through the chaos, like light filtering through torn clouds after the storm. It didn't announce itself, but everything shifted when it came. The burden that once felt immovable began to lift. The tears that refused to stop finally slowed. Hope flickered again in the ashes of exhaustion. You didn't even realize it then. But heaven had intervened. God's mercy often moves quietly, just enough to keep you breathing when despair tightens its grip. It is the hand that steadies you when you can't walk anymore. The unseen shield that keeps the enemy from finishing what he started. You have felt that mercy even when you didn't recognize it. It was there in the moment you almost made the wrong decision but couldn't bring yourself to do it. It was there when a door closed that would have destroyed you had it opened. It was there every time you thought, "I can't go on," and somehow you did. You see, mercy doesn't always look like miracles. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it looks like strength that makes no sense. Sometimes it looks like peace in a place where peace shouldn't exist. The world may call it luck or coincidence. But you, chosen one, know better. You know the unseen hand that pulled you from the edge. You know the quiet whisper that said, "Not yet. I still have plans for you." Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 4 and 5, "But God, being rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgressions." That was your story long before you realized it. Mercy found you when logic said it was over. Mercy revived what sin tried to bury. Mercy refused to let your story end in defeat. Mercy steps in not because you earn it, but because His love cannot help itself. His heart is drawn to your brokenness, His compassion magnetized to your weakness. That is why the enemy despises you, because even when you fall, you rise covered in grace. Even when you stumble, heaven doesn't revoke your calling. Mercy rewrites the narrative again and again until your story aligns with purpose. At the edge of every breaking point, mercy is standing watch. It doesn't wait for perfection, it waits for surrender. The moment you whispered, "God, I need you," heaven leaned close. The same God who commanded galaxies turned His ear toward your trembling voice. That's when everything began to change, not necessarily in your circumstances, but in your heart. You started to breathe differently, to see differently. The storm was still raging, but you began to sense the anchor beneath the waves. That anchor was mercy. And when mercy steps in, it leaves a mark. It transforms you in ways that comfort cannot. It teaches you compassion for others who are drowning. It softens the heart that once judged. It gives you eyes that recognize suffering, not as weakness, but as the soil of revelation. You begin to understand that every time God spared you, it was not only to save you, it was to send you. You are now a carrier of that same mercy, an ambassador of hope for those still caught in their own storms. Look back over your journey, and you will see footprints that aren't yours. You will remember the moments you should have collapsed but didn't. That was mercy. You will recall the relationships that ended painfully but made room for better ones. That was mercy. You will recognize the seasons where you thought God was silent, but later realized He was working behind the curtain. That was mercy. And now, as you stand here breathing peace after pain, know this mercy hasn't finished its work. It is still pursuing you, still rewriting, still redeeming. It will follow you into your next season, not as a shadow, but as a companion. You will walk with the quiet awareness that nothing can separate you from the love that rescued you once and will rescue you again. Chosen one, you did not make it here by luck or chance. You made it because mercy stepped in, and mercy never leaves the same way it came. Chosen one, can you feel it? The air in the spirit is different now. Something invisible has shifted around you. Heaven has begun to prepare a celebration, one that was planned before your first breath. The tests have been graded, the storms recorded, the refining complete. Now, the courtroom of heaven has opened, and the decree has gone forth. You are crowned. The crown you wear is not made of gold or jewels from this world. It was forged in the fire of your trials, shaped by every yes you whispered when it would have been easier to quit. Each tear became a gemstone. Each act of faith became a thread of glory woven into its design. Angels have handled it with reverence because they know it belongs to one who did not bow to the darkness. You are stepping into your divine promotion, and heaven itself is standing as witness. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 10, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." This is not just a verse, it is your confirmation. You remained faithful when the reward was invisible, when your prayers seemed to echo into emptiness. You didn't know that. In those unseen moments, heaven was preparing your coronation. The crown represents authority, but also responsibility. You are now entrusted with influence. Your words, your presence, your compassion are now carrying spiritual weight. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere notices. Darkness recognizes the mark of endurance on your life. You have become the kind of person whose very existence disturbs hell and inspires hope. That is what crowns do, they shine even in shadow. Imagine, chosen one, a garden at dawn after the storm has passed. The ground is wet with the tears of yesterday, but the first rays of sunlight turn every drop into diamonds. That is your life now. What once soaked you in sorrow now glimmers with glory. The soil of your suffering has become fertile ground for new beginnings. Heaven doesn't waste pain, it plants it. And now, the flowers of favor are beginning to bloom around you. But remember, crowns must be carried carefully. You do not wear it for applause, but for assignment. God did not elevate you for vanity. He did it for visibility, so others could see that perseverance is never ignored. Your rise is a message, not a monument. Every person who doubted, every spirit that opposed you, they will see that the one who walks with God cannot be buried by circumstance. And now that heaven has placed this mantle upon you, the world will begin to notice your glow. They'll call it luck, timing, coincidence, but you will know it's divine alignment. Opportunities will start appearing like doors in walls that once seemed impenetrable. Favor will find you in rooms you never even entered. But even as the spotlight grows, stay anchored in humility. Remember that the same hand that placed the crown can also lift it higher if you remain surrendered. Beloved, this message carries not just celebration, but calling. The anointing you've received is not for isolation, but illumination. The world is dark and hungry for light, and you refined, resilient, radiant are called to shine. When you speak, let your words be rivers of peace. When you act, let your kindness become the evidence of heaven on earth. Your influence may reach thousands or just one, but to God, both are kingdoms worth saving. If this message touches your spirit, let it not stop with you. Just as oil flows best when it's poured out, let the blessing flow through you. When you like or share this word, you're not promoting a voice, you're planting a seed. You never know who might be standing at the edge of their own test, waiting for a sign that they are not forgotten. You could be that sign. Your click becomes a candle in someone's darkness. And if your heart feels moved to give, to sow back into the very well that poured into you, do it as an act of gratitude, not obligation. Think of it as laying a brick on the altar of your testimony. Every offering, big or small, is a whisper to heaven saying, I value what healed me. When you give, you build the bridge that allows these messages to reach the next chosen one, still lost in silence. It's not a transaction, it's transformation. Subscribe if you haven't already, not just to a channel, but to the journey of awakening. There are words ahead that will meet you in your next season. Words that will remind you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. Stay close. Stay connected. Let's continue walking together through the chapters of your rise. Because, beloved, the story is far from over. The crown you wear now is not an ending, it's a beginning. A sign that what once was broken has now been made beautiful. That what once was hidden now stands revealed. You passed the test. You endured the silence. You survived the fire. And now, you reign not as one who conquered others, but as one who conquered themselves. Your crown gleams. Your season begins. Heaven applauds. Chosen one. Can you sense it? The shift is no longer coming, it is here. The air around your spirit feels different because heaven has released a new current. Things that once resisted you are beginning to move. People who once ignored you are beginning to notice. Doors that seemed sealed have started to creak open. And it is not by coincidence, it is divine orchestration. The atmosphere has changed because God has changed your position. You may not have seen it happen, but you can feel it. Something within you has grown quieter, more certain, less afraid. You've stopped striving to prove your worth. Because deep down, you now understand you were never fighting for the promise. You were fighting from the promise. You have entered a season where alignment will do more for you than effort ever could. The ground beneath your feet has shifted from testing to manifestation. As written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Those words are not ancient history, they are prophecy alive inside your present moment. God is doing something new. And this new isn't a repetition of your past with better packaging. No, it's unprecedented. You are standing on ground that has never existed before. The shift you feel is creation unfolding around you. You've waited so long for movement that the stillness became familiar. But the Spirit says, this stillness was never stagnation, it was synchronization. Heaven was aligning resources, people, and timing for a divine collision. What once looked like delay was actually precision. Every "not yet" from God was his way of saying, I'm setting the stage so that when it happens, it cannot be undone. This shift will be recognized not by noise, but by ease. Doors will open without knocking. Conversations will flow without forcing. You will find yourself in rooms you never applied to enter, sitting at tables you once thought were beyond your reach. That is how you know God's hand is on it, when grace accomplishes what grind could not. But remember, chosen one, new seasons require new stewardship. The shift will ask for your awareness. When blessings begin to flow, resist the temptation to return to old patterns. Do not apologize for favor, and do not shrink to make others comfortable. The same God who elevated you intends for your light to shine, not hide. Let humility anchor you, but let courage carry you. This is also a time for discernment. Not every door that opens is divine, and not every voice that praises you is sent by heaven. Move wisely. Pray before you step. And remember that peace, not opportunity, is your compass. The atmosphere has shifted in your favor, but that means distractions will increase too. Guard your oil, guard your focus, and guard your joy. The enemy cannot stop what God has started, but he will try to make you doubt it. Don't. There will be signs confirming this new flow. You'll begin to notice alignment in strange places, dreams that carry instruction, random encounters that feel ordained, words that speak directly to your current transition. These are not coincidences. They are heavenly winks reminding you, you are on track. Your environment might not look fully changed yet, but the energy in the spirit realm already has. Every step you take now is prophetic. Every word you speak carries authority. You are no longer wandering, you are walking into destiny. The same wind that once pressed against you now propels you forward. Chosen one, pause and feel the shift again. Can you sense it in your chest? That steady rhythm of confidence where fear used to live, that is faith matured. You are becoming the person you once prayed to be. Everything around you is catching up to what heaven already declared over you. This is your divine momentum. You are not being pushed, you are being carried. Grace has become the current beneath your feet. All you must do is stay in motion. Keep believing. Keep listening. Keep trusting. Heaven has not only shifted your atmosphere, it has shifted your identity. You are no longer the one waiting for miracles, you are the miracle in motion. And right here, as a prophetic act of agreement, type below 888. 8 is the number of new beginnings. But 888 declares the completion of transition, the full emergence into divine renewal. When you type it, you're not just engaging, you're aligning. You're saying, I recognize the shift, and I receive it. You're declaring to the unseen that you will not miss what heaven is releasing. Chosen one, the season has changed. The shift is real. Walk in it with confidence. Speak in it with authority. And live in it with peace. What was once uncertain is now unfolding. What was once delayed is now delivered. Heaven has moved, and so have you. Chosen one. Every rise brings revelation, and with revelation comes exposure. The moment heaven lifted you, the same light that revealed your purpose also revealed the hearts around you. You began to notice the shift in people's tone, the sudden distance in those who once celebrated you, the subtle envy hiding behind their smiles. It wasn't your imagination. The same favor that attracts blessings also exposes opposition. You are not under attack because you did something wrong. You are under attack because you did something right. When the tables turn, confusion visits the enemy's camp. Those who spoke against you, those who laughed when you stumbled, are now forced to watch God rewrite your story in real time. They can't understand how you recovered. They can't explain why doors keep opening for you. They remember your failures. But heaven remembers your faith. And when those two memories collide, grace always wins. You see, the favor on your life doesn't need to announce itself. It announces you. That's why the atmosphere shifts when you enter a room. That's why certain people's spirits grow uneasy when you start to speak. It isn't arrogance, it's anointing. The light within you unsettles what's still hiding in darkness. You carry the evidence of divine preservation. And that presence confronts every spirit that wished you would disappear. But take heart. Beloved, the confusion of your enemies is part of your confirmation. It proves that God has elevated you beyond their reach. You no longer need to defend yourself. Silence has become your best testimony. Every lie, every rumor, every whisper meant to harm you is now fuel for your vindication. God will make the same mouths that cursed you acknowledge that His hand is on your life. You won't have to argue. Your fruit will speak. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus. Chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. These are not words of retreat, they are words of royal confidence. The battle was never yours to begin with. God allowed the opposition not to break you, but to broadcast His power through you. While you were crying over who left, heaven was arranging who would arrive. While you were mourning what you lost, heaven was preparing what would replace it. Let them talk. Chosen one, let them misunderstand. You don't need to explain what God is doing. Revelation will speak louder than reputation. Every misunderstanding is temporary, but divine vindication is eternal. Those who tried to bury your name will soon find themselves sowing in the soil that carries your fruit. That is how God works. He doesn't just restore, He reverses. And remember, vindication is never about revenge. It's about revelation. When God turns the tables, He doesn't do it to humiliate your enemies. He does it to glorify His mercy. Because even those who opposed you might one day come seeking the peace they saw surrounding you. Be ready to forgive them. True elevation is proven not by who you defeat, but by how you respond once you've won. You will find that some battles now end before they begin. The same voices that used to provoke you will suddenly lose their power. That's because you've outgrown the frequency of pettiness. You no longer live where they can reach. Their words bounce off your peace because you've learned that silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You've discovered that when God fights for you, all you must do is keep walking. Chosen one, this is your season of reversal. What was meant to shame you will showcase you. What was stolen will be returned, multiplied. Those who once pitied you will one day seek your counsel. You don't have to chase vindication, it's already on its way. The same God who saw you in the valley now positions you on the mountain, not to boast, but to testify. Think of Joseph standing before his brothers, the same ones who sold him into slavery. His response was not bitterness, but mercy. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That is the posture of the chosen, to rise without resentment. Because true victory is not having the last word, it's having lasting peace. And peace, beloved, is exactly what God is granting you. You will walk through familiar places soon, but they won't feel the same. The people, the energy, the conversations, all will reflect your new frequency. Don't shrink to fit your old life. It no longer matches your spirit. The confusion around you is simply a sign that the old cannot comprehend the new. Be still. Let God continue what He started. The same wind that carried you out of the fire will now carry you above the noise. The confusion of your enemies is not your concern. It is heaven's announcement that you have crossed over. Keep your focus forward, your heart clean, and your light burning. You've outlived their doubt. You've survived their schemes. You've risen past their reach. And now, chosen one, you walk untouched in the clarity of divine vindication. Chosen one, the time has come for your covering to change. In the unseen realm, garments are being exchanged, old robes of weariness are being lifted from your shoulders, and heaven is clothing you anew. You are not who you once were, the version of you that endured pain, rejection, and misunderstanding has fulfilled its assignment. Now, a new identity is descending upon you, woven from glory, strength, and divine authority. You may not see the robe, but you will feel its weight. It is the weight of purpose, the mantle of the chosen. This garment cannot be purchased or inherited. It is only given to those who have walked through fire and remained faithful. Every trial was a thread in its making. Every night of prayer was a stitch. And now, heaven's tailor has finished his work. The mantle fits perfectly because it was designed according to your endurance. As was spoken in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 10, He has clothed me with garments of salvation and arrayed me in a robe of righteousness. These words are not poetry, they are spiritual reality. God is literally changing your spiritual attire. The worn-out cloak of survival is being replaced with the royal robe of significance. You no longer carry the scent of sorrow, you carry the fragrance of destiny. Do not underestimate the change, even if your surroundings look the same. Spiritual mantles often manifest subtly at first. People will start to respond to you differently. Doors that once required knocking will open of their own accord. You will speak, and hearts will shift. You will pray, and atmospheres will quiet. This is what it means to walk under divine covering. It's not about titles or recognition, it's about weight. Heaven has placed something upon you that commands reverence in the unseen. The robe also signifies belonging. You are not an orphan in the spirit, you are a representative of the kingdom. Wherever you go, heaven goes with you. When you enter a place, angels follow. When you speak, authority flows. You are no longer trying to prove your calling. You are your calling. That is the transformation this mantle brings. It makes your very existence prophetic. But understand this, beloved, every mantle comes with a test of humility. The moment heaven increases your power, the enemy will whisper for you to misuse it. He will tempt you to boast, to compete, to seek recognition. Resist that. The true mark of those clothed in righteousness is quiet confidence. You do not need to shout to be heard. Your presence already speaks. The more God elevates you, the lower your heart must bow. Humility is the thread that keeps the mantle from slipping. You will notice, too, that certain people can no longer walk with you. Some will drift away naturally. Others will misunderstand your silence. Don't grieve it. Garments are not one size fits all. Your new mantle cannot fit within old spaces. The ones meant for your next chapter will recognize the anointing you now carry, not as competition, but as confirmation. They will see in you what God placed there and will honor it. Chosen one. This robe is not decoration, it's a declaration. It tells the realms of darkness that you are untouchable. It tells every demonic power that your authority is endorsed by heaven itself. You have become a living decree, a walking testament that obedience produces inheritance. The enemy no longer sees you as prey, he sees you as marked. That is why the warfare has intensified. It's not to destroy you, but to distract you. Stay focused. Mantles only function when the bearer walks in awareness. Feel it now, the quiet strength covering you, the peace that settles like light across your spirit. This is not imagination, it's impartation. You have stepped into something sacred and ancient, the continuation of a legacy that began long before your birth. You are now part of the lineage of those who carried light into dark places, prophets, dreamers, intercessors, warriors. The mantle resting on you carries their echoes. It remembers every generation that held faith when the world doubted. Wear it with reverence. Beloved, let it remind you daily that your story was never ordinary. Heaven doesn't clothe the careless, it crowns the faithful. From this day forward, walk as one who is robed in righteousness, draped in divine purpose, and sealed with eternal promise. You have been clothed not just to be seen, but to become the living evidence that God still wraps His chosen in glory. Chosen one. The moment has come to step out from hiding. For too long you've carried greatness quietly, holding your fire in fear of being misunderstood. You've dimmed your own light to make others comfortable, spoken softly when heaven told you to roar. But this season, silence is no longer holy if it keeps you from obedience. The mantle has been placed. Now the voice must rise. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to disturb the darkness simply by being present. The hesitation you've been feeling isn't humility, it's warfare. The enemy has tried to convince you that confidence is pride, that boldness is arrogance. But listen carefully. Beloved, when God calls you to stand, humility means obeying, not hiding. You can't fulfill a divine assignment while apologizing for existing. As recorded in the book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 1, the righteous are bold as a lion. That is your decree. Righteous boldness isn't loud or arrogant, it's steady, fearless, certain. It is the kind of confidence that makes darkness tremble. Not because you are strong, but because the one inside you is. The lion does not roar to prove its power, it roars to remind the wilderness who rules it. You must begin to roar again, not to defend yourself, but to declare destiny. Think about it. How many times did you stay quiet when your heart burned with revelation? How many times did you bury words that could have freed others because you were afraid they wouldn't listen? Yet, heaven kept stirring that same message inside you, again and again, until it became unbearable to contain. That restlessness wasn't frustration, it was prophecy trying to be born. Chosen one. The era of shrinking is over. The season of self-doubt is done. You have been prepared for visibility. Not for vanity, but for victory. When you speak now, it will not be ordinary speech, it will be spiritual release. Chains will break through your words. Hearts will soften. Minds will awaken. You are not just communicating, you are creating. Every sentence you speak under God's direction becomes a tool of transformation. But to walk in this kind of authority, you must stop apologizing for it. You were not called to whisper truth into a void. You were called to proclaim it with power. This is why the warfare intensified when you began to find your voice. The enemy fears what you sound like when you believe. Because when a chosen one speaks under anointing, realms respond. Look at Moses, a man who stuttered, yet commanded Pharaoh. Look at Esther, a woman who trembled, yet changed the course of a kingdom. Look at Jeremiah, a prophet who cried, yet his words shook nations. What do they all share? They spoke anyway. Courage didn't come before obedience, it came because of obedience. That same anointing rests upon you now. Heaven is saying, do not wait until you feel ready. Speak now, and readiness will meet you in motion. And when you speak, understand this, not everyone will celebrate you. Some will question your motives. Others will resist your words. Do not take it personally. Light always exposes what darkness wants to keep hidden. Your job is not to convince, it is to declare. You are a trumpet, not a negotiator. When heaven breathes through you, even resistance becomes proof that your message carries power. You have carried revelation long enough. Now it's time for release. Don't measure the value of your words by who listens. Measure them by who sent them. Each word of obedience sends ripples through eternity. Each testimony you share tears another hole in the veil of deception that covers this generation. Your boldness isn't just for you, it's for those waiting to find courage through your example. So now, chosen one, take a prophetic step of agreement. In the comments, declare these 3 words, I will speak. When you type them, you are not performing, you are prophesying. You are telling the universe, no more silence, no more shrinking, no more fear. You are reminding yourself that heaven has authorized your voice. Those 3 words are small, but their echo will travel far. They will activate something in the unseen, drawing courage to your spirit like wind to a flame. Say it and mean it. Say it even if your voice shakes. Say it for every moment you swallowed truth to keep peace. Say it for every version of yourself that stayed quiet to survive. Because now you are not surviving, you are leading. You are the voice crying in the wilderness of this generation. The one who points others back to hope, to wholeness, to God. The mantle of silence has been lifted. The mantle of authority has descended. Speak, and let creation hear you. For when you open your mouth, heaven opens with you. Chosen one, now that your voice has awakened, something miraculous begins to happen around you. You start to sense that you are not alone in this calling. Across nations, across languages, across invisible distances, Other hearts are stirring too, souls who have endured the same trials, carried the same burdens, fought through the same nights of silence. This is no accident. Heaven is gathering its remnant. You are part of a divine network of light bearers, each one unique, yet all carrying the same fire. Like stars scattered across a dark sky, you were never meant to shine alone. One star is beautiful, but a constellation tells a story. God is aligning his chosen ones, forming a pattern that even darkness cannot erase. You are being positioned beside others who carry the same heavenly frequency. Together, your lights become a map of redemption for a wandering generation. As was written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, "For many are called, but few are chosen. You, beloved, are among the few who answered, and now your obedience becomes a signal. Heaven is weaving your story with others who dared to say yes. Each of you is a note in a greater symphony, a melody of mercy that echoes through eternity. Imagine a field of embers after the fire seems gone. The wind begins to blow, and suddenly one spark ignites another until the whole field glows again. That's what's happening now. Your courage inspires someone else's awakening. Your testimony becomes oxygen for another's fading faith. Every time you share light, you multiply it. This gathering isn't just spiritual, it's prophetic. God is uniting voices across every border, generation, and background to carry out one assignment: to remind the world that his light still reigns. You will start recognizing them, other chosen ones, by the way their words stir your spirit, by the peace that flows when you connect, by the unmistakable resonance of shared destiny. You will find your tribe, not through searching, but through shining. You may wonder why this matters, why connection is so important now. Because the battles ahead are not meant to be fought in isolation. Even the strongest flame can flicker when surrounded by winds of opposition. But when flames gather, they create warmth, protection, and unstoppable force. That's what heaven is doing, creating a divine campfire. A circle of souls carrying holy fire for this hour. And as this light expands, the message must travel. Not everyone who needs to hear these words will find them by chance. Sometimes heaven uses the simplest acts to spread revelation. A shared message, a reposted clip, a whispered recommendation. These become wings for the word. So if this message resonates with your spirit, let it fly. Share it like a lantern released into a dark night, never knowing whose eyes it will reach, but trusting that it will find someone who needs it most. When you like this message, it's more than a digital gesture, it's a spark of agreement. It's you saying to heaven, "Yes, I recognize my tribe." When you subscribe, it's not about following a voice, it's about staying connected to the frequency of awakening. Think of it as anchoring your candle to the circle of flame so the wind cannot blow it out. And if you feel led to donate, to sow into this growing movement, do it not out of pressure, but out of partnership. You are not funding a platform, you are fueling a lighthouse. Every seed you plant becomes oil for the lamp that keeps burning through the night. Somewhere, someone broken will stumble upon a message because of your generosity. Your giving is not lost, it returns as light in another person's darkness. Beloved, the work that heaven is doing through these words is like a river. You can't see where it flows, but you can feel its pull. When you pour into it, your life becomes part of its current. The harvest that flows from that obedience will touch souls you may never meet, but heaven will record every name, every gesture, every heart that said, "I want to keep the light burning." Stay connected. Keep your flame close to others who burn with truth, because in this hour, isolation is extinction, but unity is ignition. Together, we are not a scattered handful of believers, we are a movement of destiny, and the more we pour, the brighter the blaze. So, like the morning dew that joins to make rivers, let us join giving, sharing, sowing, shining until the whole horizon glows with the light of the chosen. You are not just part of an audience. You are part of an awakening. Chosen one. Every new season requires a breaking. It is not punishment, it is preparation. The Spirit begins to touch areas you thought were healed, revealing patterns that cannot follow you into the next level. What you are feeling now, the restlessness, the discomfort, the strange sense of shedding is not regression. It is the sound of chains snapping, cycles ending, and burdens being lifted. Heaven is breaking you free from the invisible ropes that once defined you. You may not have seen those ropes, but you felt their pull. The recurring disappointments, the emotional loops, the fears that return in new disguises, those were not coincidences. They were old systems trying to survive in a new timeline. But the Spirit of God is a consuming fire, and He has declared that those cycles must end. You cannot walk into promise while wearing the patterns of pain. The breaking is not to destroy you, but to distinguish you. According to what is revealed in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come." These words are the heartbeat of your transformation. Heaven is not trying to improve the old you, it is birthing the true you. The old self, shaped by survival and fear, cannot hold the weight of divine purpose. So, God allows a holy breaking to make space for holy becoming. This breaking may touch areas you thought were long settled. Old memories surface. Emotions you buried start to breathe again. Don't run from this process. Healing often feels like hurting before it feels like freedom. When God presses on a wound, it's not to cause pain, it's to remove infection. Every tear that falls now is washing away residue from past seasons. Every release is restoration. You will begin to notice shifts within yourself. The things that once triggered you no longer have power. The opinions that once controlled you now sound distant, faint, almost irrelevant. This is not numbness, it's maturity. Heaven has been rewiring your responses, reprogramming your identity. You are no longer moved by chaos because you have learned to recognize peace as power. Sometimes, the breaking happens through separation. People you loved will drift away, not because of betrayal, but because their assignment in your story has ended. You cannot resent them. Thank them silently and let them go with grace. If they stayed, they would only see the old version of you, and God is determined that you will no longer live there. Growth always demands goodbye. The breaking also reaches inward, into your thoughts. You are being freed from the language of limitation. Where you once said, "I can't," the Spirit now whispers, "You can." Where you once believed you were forgotten, you now see that you were preserved. The breaking is tearing down internal prisons, those invisible bars built from fear, guilt, and unworthiness. You are learning that you were never bound by circumstance, only by perception. Do you feel the quiet peace behind the discomfort? That's how you know it's God. Pain born of punishment leaves chaos behind, but pain born of purpose leaves clarity. The more you release, the lighter you become. The Spirit is pulling the weeds so the garden of your calling can bloom. He's pruning you for fruitfulness, cutting away what no longer serves your destiny. And though the pruning feels like loss, it is actually love in disguise. A good gardener never cuts to kill, he cuts to cultivate. God is not taking from you, He's making room for more. The space left empty will soon be filled with something divine: joy, wisdom, power, peace. Chosen one, do not fear this breaking. It is heaven's way of unmaking what the world made of you. You are being shaped into something timeless, something pure. Every fracture is becoming a window for light. Every scar is turning into a story that will heal others. When you look back, you won't see destruction, you'll see deliverance. The cycles that tormented your family line are ending with you. The fears that silenced generations are dying in your mouth. You are not merely healed, you are a healer in training. The curse that whispered, "It runs in your blood," has just met the blood that speaks a better word. This is the holy exchange for every pain, a promise for every loss, a lesson for every wound, a weapon of wisdom. The breaking was never to leave you shattered, it was to make you whole in a way you never imagined. Stand still for a moment and breathe. Can you feel the difference inside you? The tension is fading. The tightness around your heart loosens. That's freedom taking its first full breath in you. The old has passed away. The new has come. From this day forward, you walk unbound. No cycle can claim you. No pattern can predict you. You are free, and freedom looks good on you. Chosen one. Something beautiful is unfolding before you. You may not have realized it yet, but the very air around you has begun to open like the first crack of dawn after a long night. What once felt locked and unreachable is shifting. This is the season of open doors. You have waited long for this moment. You have endured seasons of silence, pruning, and preparation. Now heaven has whispered a single command into the atmosphere: open. The same doors that refused to move for years are responding to that word. Where there was resistance, now there is response. Where there was delay, now there is divine acceleration. The doors are not just opening to you, they are opening for you. It is written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, "Behold, I have set before you an open door which no one can shut." That is not a metaphor, it is a decree. Heaven has issued a permanent order over your life. Access granted. The locks have been removed. The barriers have been lifted. You are stepping into a realm where favor flows freely and alignment replaces anxiety. But not every door you see will be yours, and not every invitation will be divine. That is why this season requires discernment as much as it requires faith. The enemy loves to build counterfeit doors, opportunities that glitter but lead to emptiness. You will know which ones are divine, not by how loud they open, but by the peace that surrounds them. True doors carry stillness, not pressure. When God opens a door, it won't require manipulation. You won't have to knock endlessly or beg for entry. The handle will turn easily, as if it has been waiting for your touch. That's how divine timing feels: effortless, natural, inevitable. The right door doesn't just let you in, it recognizes your authority. Many of the doors before you were hidden until you passed the test. God didn't show them earlier because He didn't want premature access to destroy permanent destiny. Now that your heart has matured, heaven can trust you with visibility. What once would have overwhelmed you will now empower you. The same opportunities that could have broken your spirit will now bless it. But remember this: every open door requires a closed one behind it. To step through the new, you must stop knocking on the old. Some doors were sealed for a reason: relationships, environments, and habits that cannot hold what God is building through you. The closure wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every no was making space for the yes that carries your name. Chosen one, prepare yourself. The open doors will not appear with flashing lights. Some will look ordinary at first: an unexpected conversation, a subtle idea, a small invitation. But within them lies exponential impact. Be attentive. Heaven rarely shouts, it whispers. Your sensitivity to the Spirit will be your key. This is not just about career or opportunity, it's about divine access in every dimension. Doors of revelation will open, mysteries will unfold as you pray. Doors of reconciliation will swing wide, long broken relationships will find healing. Doors of provision will appear in places you thought barren. The season of striving is ending. Now, blessings will locate you without struggle. And even as doors open, new responsibilities will follow. Open doors are not just for receiving, they are for releasing. God opens them so that what He placed in you can flow out freely. Your testimony, your wisdom, your compassion, they are not meant to stay behind closed walls. The world needs what's inside you. Don't stand frozen at the threshold. Walk through with faith, with courage, with joy. This new season will also bring divine introductions, people who hold the keys to your next chapter. You will recognize them not by status, but by spirit. They will speak to your purpose, not your comfort. These connections will feel effortless, orchestrated, familiar, as though heaven rehearsed them long before you met. Walk with gratitude, not suspicion. Heaven is intentional. Nothing is random anymore. There is a sound in the spirit, a soft creak of hinges long sealed. It is the sound of destiny waking. Can you hear it? Each sound is a promise fulfilled. Each step forward, a victory sealed. You are walking into rooms your prayers built years ago. Every yes you gave in secret is now opening public favor. The God who once tested your patience is now rewarding your persistence. Chosen one, pause here and let this truth settle in. You are no longer waiting for open doors, you are walking through them. And as a prophetic act of agreement, type below 555. The number 555 represents divine grace, multiplied a triple confirmation that heaven's timing and your obedience are in perfect harmony. When you type it, you're not just engaging, you're declaring alignment. You're saying, I'm ready for the doors meant for me. I'm done forcing what was never mine. I step through what heaven prepared. Let that be your declaration. The locks are gone, the pathways clear, the season open. Step forward. Chosen one, your next chapter is not waiting behind the door, it is the door. Chosen one, you have entered a sacred phase in your journey. the place where heaven begins to silence the accuser. For too long, the whispers of accusation have tried to stain your identity. Voices from the past have risen like ghosts, reminding you of failures you've already repented for, of mistakes long buried beneath grace. But now, heaven has spoken. Enough. The voice of condemnation is being silenced, and your name is being cleared in the Spirit. There is a courtroom in heaven where every lie, every slander, every false judgment is weighed against truth. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but this courtroom has been in session for your sake. The enemy, the ancient accuser, has brought your name before the throne more times than you realize. But every time he has spoken, the blood of Jesus has answered louder. The verdict has already been written: innocent, redeemed, chosen, as it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." This is not merely a promise of protection, it is a declaration of divine justice. The weapons may have been formed, but they were never destined to function. The tongues that spoke against you may have risen, but they will soon fall silent in the presence of truth. You see, vindication is not always loud. Sometimes it comes quietly, through the peace that returns after years of chaos. Sometimes it comes through opportunities that arrive without explanation. Sometimes it comes when the very people who doubted you begin to see what heaven saw all along. Vindication isn't about proving your worth, it's about watching God prove his faithfulness. There was a time when you wanted to defend yourself, to explain, to correct the narrative, but God restrained you, not because he didn't care, but because he was preparing to speak for you. You were never meant to argue your way into clarity. Your character was your courtroom, your endurance, your evidence. And now, heaven's decision is echoing through the realms. Case dismissed. Every accusation, spoken or unspoken, is being overturned. The shame that clung to you is being stripped away. The guilt that once lingered after forgiveness is being dissolved. Even self-judgment is being silenced. For God is not only defending you from others, but also from your own harsh inner voice. He is teaching you to see yourself as he does, whole, forgiven, radiant, chosen one. This vindication is not about revenge. It is about restoration. God does not silence your enemies to shame them. He silences them to protect your peace. He knows that your heart was never built to live in defense mode. You were designed for creation, not conflict. So now, he is clearing the air around you. Every false word, every distorted perception, every lie attached to your name is being burned away by truth. And while heaven fights for you, something profound begins to shift within. You realize you no longer crave apology, validation, or acknowledgement. What once wounded you now washes off like rain. You've outgrown the reach of offense. The same words that used to cut you now echo in emptiness, powerless against the armor of peace. This is the maturity of the chosen, when you stop reacting to accusation and start resting in affirmation. The people who once misunderstood you will see the transformation, and their confusion will turn into quiet awe. Some will come with apologies, others will stay silent, convicted by your stability. Accept both with grace. You are not called to expose or humiliate them, you are called to embody redemption. The greatest revenge is radiant peace. The truest proof is undeniable fruit. And oh, the fruit is coming. Vindication always precedes increase. When God clears your name, He clears your path. The blessings that were delayed due to accusation are now being released. The barriers built by lies are crumbling. Those who tried to block your progress with slander will now watch as God places your promotion in plain sight. Not to boast, but to bear witness that His favor outweighs every falsehood. Chosen one, take a moment to breathe. Can you feel the stillness settling in your spirit? That stillness is the sound of heaven's gavel striking. The case is closed. You are free to move forward without fear of being misunderstood. You no longer have to look over your shoulder or defend your reputation. God Himself is your defender, your advocate, your witness. Walk in peace now. Let your steps echo grace. Let your silence speak louder than your defense. The same mouth that called you unworthy will one day call you blessed. The same ground that held your tears will soon bear your testimony. And when that happens, remember, it wasn't your words that won this victory. It was your endurance, your obedience, and the unbreakable love of God. The accuser has been silenced. Your name is cleared. Your destiny stands unopposed. Chosen one, you are standing beneath a sky heavy with glory. The air around you hums with divine presence. This is not imagination, it is manifestation. You have entered the season where heaven's abundance begins to flow without interruption. The drought is over. The long nights of waiting have given way to the bright morning of fulfillment. What was once delayed is now delivered. You are about to experience the overflow of glory. This overflow is not only material, it is multidimensional. It moves through your mind, your heart, your relationships, your purpose. It touches everything that endured the storm and survived the pruning. You see, God never restores in equal measure, He restores in multiplication. For every tear you sowed, He returns rivers of joy. For every door that closed, He opens gates of opportunity. The days of scarcity are fading behind you. The abundance of heaven is now your atmosphere, as it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 6. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. These words are no longer just verses on a page, they are the rhythm of your reality. Goodness is now tracking your steps. Mercy is walking beside you. And favor has become your shadow. You are surrounded. You are sustained. You are supplied. This overflow begins inwardly. You will notice your heart feeling lighter, your thoughts clearer. The heaviness that once clung to your chest will lift. Joy will begin to rise without cause. Peace will linger longer than worry, and gratitude will flow like breath. This is what happens when heaven takes residence in a soul. It begins to spill out, touching every part of life. Even your presence will start to shift atmospheres. People will sense something different when you enter a room, a calm authority, a quiet radiance. That is glory, not arrogance. Glory is simply God's reflection on a surrendered vessel. You don't have to announce it, it announces itself. The overflow of glory turns ordinary moments into divine encounters. Conversations become healing. Work becomes worship. Waiting becomes witnessing. The overflow also affects how you see yourself. For years, you carried a survival mindset, just trying to make it through. But now the Spirit is teaching you to live from overflow, not from emptiness. You are no longer scraping for blessings. You are pouring from abundance. You no longer beg for affirmation, you breathe purpose. You don't chase peace, you carry it. This shift is what heaven calls kingdom living. In this season, your prayers will change tone. You will move from asking to thanking, from pleading to partnering. You will no longer pray only for rescue. You will pray for revelation. You will no longer focus on what's missing, but on what's multiplying. Gratitude will become your greatest weapon. Every thank you speak will open another door. Every act of praise will expand another territory. But remember, overflow carries responsibility. Abundance is not for hoarding, it's for healing. The extra peace you feel is meant to be shared with those drowning in anxiety. The financial blessings that begin to appear are not trophies, but tools. God increases you so you can increase others. The true measure of overflow is not how much you receive, but how much flows through you. You may notice that generosity feels easier now. That's because fear of lack has been replaced by revelation of supply. You know that heaven never runs dry. You can give freely because you finally understand the source. This is what separates the chosen from the average. Their hands stay open. The same flow that blesses you continues through you. This overflow will also reach places you thought were dead. Old dreams will stir again. Forgotten passions will wake. Even relationships that ended painfully may find peaceful closure or surprising restoration. God's glory doesn't just build the new, it redeems the old. Nothing is wasted. Every lesson, every scar, every silence was soil for this harvest. And this harvest will be visible. The favor on your life will draw attention. But don't fear the spotlight. It's not shining on you, it's shining through you. People will look and see more than success. They will see evidence. Evidence that God is real. That faith still works. That obedience still leads to reward. You will become living proof that surviving the fire leads to reigning in glory. Yet, even in overflow, stay anchored. Glory is weighty, it can crush those who forget its source. Keep humility close. Let worship be your posture, and wisdom be your guard. The same God who fills your cup also teaches you to pour carefully. The overflow is not meant to drown you, but to deepen you. Chosen one. Pause for a moment and listen. Can you hear the sound of your own heart aligning with heaven's rhythm? That steady pulse is the flow of divine abundance. You are no longer chasing blessings, they are chasing you. The overflow is not coming, it has already begun. You have entered a realm where favor feels natural, miracles feel normal, and gratitude feels constant. This is your inheritance, sealed by endurance and crowned with grace. The overflow of glory is not a reward for surviving, it's the beginning of thriving. Walk gently through it. Speak wisely within it. Live gratefully because of it. For surely, goodness and mercy are no longer following you from behind, they are walking beside you, matching your every step. Chosen one, the time of hidden preparation is complete. The scroll of your destiny has been unsealed, and heaven now speaks a commissioning over you. You are no longer only a survivor, you are a messenger. The oil that once anointed you in secret is now being poured in public. The King has called your name in his throne room and said, "Send them forth." You have been chosen not just to carry light, but to become it. When a torch is lit, its flame doesn't ask where to shine, it simply burns wherever darkness dares to remain. That is you now, a divine torchbearer. carrying the fire of revelation into forgotten corners of the world. Every scar has become a spark, every healed wound a source of warmth. The places that once wounded you will now welcome your light. As Jesus declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." That truth has never been more alive than it is in you today. You cannot hide anymore. Heaven has elevated you to a hilltop where your glow will guide others home. This commissioning is not loud or boastful, it is steady, sacred, and intentional. You will begin to notice that your influence expands without striving. People will find you without searching. Your words will linger in hearts longer than you expect. That's what happens when light travels. It bends around obstacles, slips through cracks, and reaches even where you cannot go. And yet, light must be sustained. It cannot burn on yesterday's oil. To keep shining, you must stay connected to your source. Prayer becomes your oxygen, gratitude your fuel. Every time you pause to worship, you refill the lamp. The flame does not fear darkness, it only fears neglect. Protect your time with God as a lamp protects its wick. Without it, even the brightest fire can fade. Chosen one, you are entering a phase of divine visibility. This visibility is not for vanity but for validation that heaven's choice was never a mistake. You are being placed where others can see, not to draw attention to yourself, but to draw eyes upward. The world is desperate for light that is real, not staged, and your authenticity will be your greatest evangelism. As you carry this light, remember, even lighthouses need maintenance. The storms will come, the winds will howl, but the tower stands because its foundation is love. Let love remain your compass. Speak truth, but with tenderness. Correct when necessary, but never without compassion. You are not just a messenger of conviction, you are a vessel of comfort. And now, beloved, I speak to your heart not only as a messenger, but as a fellow traveler. If this message has touched your spirit, let it move through you. Do not let it end at your hearing, let it become action. When you like these words, it's not a routine gesture, it's an act of agreement with heaven's call. It tells the algorithm of eternity, yes, I am one of the light bearers. When you share this message, it's like lifting your candle and lighting another. You never know who is sitting in silent darkness, waiting for a sign that God has not forgotten them. Your one act of sharing could become the spark that saves a soul. That is not digital outreach, it's divine multiplication. When you subscribe, you're not following a page, you're joining a pilgrimage. It's a gathering of hearts who have decided that faith must not fade, that light must not dim. Staying connected means staying fueled. The road ahead will need reminders like this, voices that keep your lamp trimmed and burning. And if you feel led to donate, to sow into this stream of light, know that your seed becomes oil in someone else's lamp. These messages travel far, reaching weary souls across nations and time zones. Your gift becomes the invisible bridge carrying hope where it's most needed. Giving is not losing, it's letting love travel farther than your hands can reach. Now, as a symbolic gesture of unity, I invite you to comment below these simple, prophetic words, I choose my crown. When you write it, you are not claiming pride, you are claiming purpose. You are saying, I will no longer apologize for being chosen. I will carry my calling with reverence and responsibility. Your crown is not a decoration, it's a reminder. It was forged in your pain, polished by your perseverance, and fitted by the hands of grace. Wear it boldly, but humbly. Chosen one. This commissioning marks a transition. From this point, you are no longer only receiving words, you are the word in motion. Your life itself will preach louder than your lips. The atmosphere will shift when you walk into rooms. The discouraged will feel courage again. The broken will sense hope. That is the light you carry. It heals without demanding attention. It shines without shouting. Go forth now, bearer of divine fire. Walk as one whose steps leave trails of light behind. And let every breath you take remind you that the hill you stand upon was not climbed in vain. It was chosen for you before the world began. Shine, beloved. The world is watching for your flame. Chosen one. The light that once flickered uncertainly within you now burns with steady brilliance. You have crossed from testing into triumph, from surviving into standing. What once terrified you now bows before your peace. The storms that used to shake your spirit no longer move you. You have become what the heavens call unshakable. It didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, through seasons that tried to destroy you. Each disappointment was a chisel, each heartbreak a hammer, each betrayal a fire refining your core. The shaping was painful, but the result unbreakable strength. You have discovered that resilience isn't built in moments of celebration, but in nights of silence, where faith alone kept you alive. You are no longer afraid of loss, because you've met God in the ruins and realized He never leaves. You no longer fear rejection, because you've learned that divine approval outweighs human opinion. You've outgrown the noise of insecurity. You are no longer striving for acceptance, you are walking in identity. That is what makes you dangerous to darkness. You know who you are now. As it is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 37. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. That verse is not a comfort for the weak. It is a declaration for the warriors who've survived the battlefield of belief. You, chosen one, have earned this truth through endurance. You have become the living embodiment of it. You are not merely a conqueror. Conquerors win battles. More than conquerors change the battlefield itself. You no longer just fight back. You transform what tried to destroy you. The very ground where you once wept has now become holy. The valleys you crossed are now your testimonies. You carry the authority of one who has wrestled with pain and emerged clothed in peace. It's strange, isn't it? How the same situations that used to break you now barely shake you. You stand taller, speak calmer, love deeper. It is not that life grew easier, it's that you grew stronger. What once caused panic now provokes prayer. What once felt like punishment now looks like preparation. You've learned the secret language of the strong stillness. Stillness is not inactivity, it is mastery. It is knowing when to move and when to wait. It is trusting that silence speaks louder than noise. It is resting in the assurance that God fights for you even when you do nothing but stand. You have learned to be still without being stuck, to move without being frantic. That balance is rare. It is the posture of the unshakable. The world will test your stability. Of course, situations will arise that try to drag you back into fear, but they will fail. You have become like a tree planted by streams of water, its roots deep, its leaves evergreen. You may bend, but you will not break. Even the wind now works for you, carrying your seeds farther than before. Every trial that touches you now only multiplies your influence. And what's most powerful is that your strength no longer needs to prove itself. It simply exists. True power doesn't shout, it settles. The unshakable don't need recognition, they radiate reassurance. Others will find peace simply standing near you. They will ask, "How are you so calm when everything is uncertain?" And your smile will answer, "Because I've seen this storm before, and I know who commands it." This is divine maturity, the point where faith stops reacting and starts ruling. You now understand that the presence of a storm doesn't mean the absence of God. In fact, the fiercest winds often carry the clearest revelation. You have learned that not every shaking is an attack. Some shakings are upgrades. God doesn't break your foundations. He strengthens them by removing what was never meant to stand. Chosen one, your calm is your crown now. Your stability is your strength. You no longer chase peace, you are peace. The same spirit that once trembled now speaks with quiet authority. The same heart that once cracked now beats with conviction. You walk through life with the serenity of someone who has already seen the end and knows it ends in victory. Let others see that peace and find their footing again. Let your composure become a lighthouse for those still tossed by waves. You do not need to instruct with many words. Your presence teaches. You have become the sermon, the steady rhythm that reminds others it's possible to stand even when the ground shakes. So walk now, chosen one, not hurriedly but confidently. Each step you take leaves footprints of faith for those who follow. You are proof that what was once fragile can become formidable. You are evidence that storms can shape, not shatter. The crown upon your head is invisible, but heaven recognizes it. It is not made of gold, it is made of grace. You are not just standing after the storm, you are reigning within it. The unshakable warrior has emerged. Chosen one, heaven has finished its sentence over you. What began as whispers of calling has now become the roar of fulfillment. You stand at the threshold of completion, not the end of your journey, but the ceiling of your becoming. You have passed through testing, through silence, through refinement, through fire. You have worn humility like armor and faith like breath. And now, the heavens lean low to mark you with their final decree. You are sealed. This seal is not a symbol. It is a spiritual imprint. It is the evidence that you belong to no power but God. It is the invisible signature of divine ownership, pressed deep into your spirit. Once, you carried uncertainty about your identity, wondering where you truly fit, whether your journey was ever seen. But now, heaven itself bears witness. You are not adrift, you are assigned. Not wandering, you are watched. The mark of the chosen rests on you like light that cannot be removed. As the apostle wrote in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13, you were sealed with the promised Holy Spirit. That seal is eternal proof that your covenant is complete. It means heaven recognizes your name, hell respects your endurance, and earth will soon see your manifestation. You are now a carrier of something immortal. What does it mean to be sealed? It means that what once broke you can no longer touch you. The same flames that tested you now bow to your command. The same voices that doubted you now fade beneath your peace. The seal signifies that your story can no longer be rewritten by circumstance. Your destiny is finalized by divine decree. You are untouchable in purpose, unstoppable in promise, unmovable in identity. This sealing is quiet, yet powerful. It doesn't arrive with thunder, it rests like a sunrise. Slow but sure. You begin to feel it in your chest, the deep calm of one who no longer needs external validation. The doubts that once haunted you fall silent. You do not need to chase confirmation anymore, because the spirit within you testifies continually, you belong. You are enough. You are chosen. This mark also brings new clarity. You will begin to perceive life differently, not as random chaos, but as a deliberate tapestry. The pain you endured now makes sense. The detours now reveal divine design. You see that every delay was simply timing catching up to purpose. Nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil where your new self grew. Every heartbreak became an instruction. Every loss a map. Now, as the pieces align, you realize heaven was never late, it was precise. The seal also brings peace about the future. You no longer rush. For you trust the rhythm of destiny. You've seen too much faithfulness to fear the unknown. When others panic at uncertainty, you rest. You've learned that when God marks you, He also manages your steps. Every closed door, every strange detour, every sudden ending now carries a quiet confidence. You know its alignment. Not accident. Chosen one. The seal doesn't remove struggle, but it changes its outcome. From now on, battles will still come, but they will no longer break you. Every confrontation will confirm your calling. Every hardship will strengthen your authority. You are not exempt from warfare, you are empowered for it. The seal is heaven's way of saying, "This one is mine, handle with reverence." You will find that your very presence carries weight now. Rooms will grow still when you speak. People will sense something different, not louder, but deeper. You carry divine atmosphere, a living current of glory that lingers after you leave. That is what it means to be sealed. You are no longer a visitor in the kingdom, you are an extension of it. And this seal is eternal. Seasons will change. People will come and go. But this mark will not fade. It will remain when success tries to distract you and when suffering tries to discourage you. It will whisper truth in moments of weariness and anchor you in moments of triumph. It will remind you that your story is not about survival anymore, it is about legacy. You are heaven's letter to earth, written in fire and sealed in spirit. Wherever you go, that message travels. When you speak, heaven's signature is heard in your tone. When you move, divine intention moves with you. You have become both the message and the messenger, the vessel and the voice. And now, as this chapter closes, the heavens rest their hand upon you one last time, not to change you, but to confirm you. You are not beginning again, you are continuing eternally. Your rise is complete. Your purpose is unstoppable. Chosen one. If these words have met you in the quiet corners of your journey, let them linger. You didn't arrive here by accident. Every sentence was a mirror to your own becoming. Every revelation, a whisper from heaven reminding you that you were never forgotten. You have walked through fire and found faith waiting on the other side. You have endured storms and discovered peace standing within you. And now, as the final light fades on this chapter, your next begins. What happens next depends on what you do with the light you now carry. Don't let it stop at your screen, let it travel. When you like this message, you affirm, "I receive what heaven is speaking to me." When you share it, you extend that same whisper to someone who might be silently breaking tonight. It's not about numbers or algorithms, it's about souls, about unseen hearts that need to hear. You've passed the test too. Take a moment and leave your mark in the comments. Right from your heart, your reflection might become another's revelation. Words typed in faith ripple farther than you imagine. Let this space become a circle of light, a digital altar where gratitude and hope meet. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not to a voice, but to a journey, a continual unfolding of divine reminders that keep your flame burning when life tries to dim it. Together, we keep the fire alive. Together, we become the constellation of the chosen, each shining in our corner of the world, forming something greater than ourselves. So, beloved, as this final word settles, lift your head and breathe. You are seen, you are sealed, you are rising still. The story doesn't end here, it only begins again, in glory.